What's going on, everyone? So in today's video, we're going to go over the SPY, QQQ, IWM. We're going to talk about specifically exactly what Bitcoin needs to do to either become extremely bullish or bearish once more. And we're just going to go over the entire crypto market after the regular stock market. Okay, so without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, first of all, on Friday, the SPY made a new all-time high once more. Okay, so we crossed above this resistance level from before, which was the prior all-time high at 425.46. All right, and we completely traded completely above it. We didn't even touch below that level once. All right, so that is a very, very bullish sign. So as you remember, a few days ago, back when the SPY was trading back here, right, we were extremely oversold on the B band, or on the MACD. All right, as you can see, we're extremely oversold. The blue line is below the yellow line, and the RSI was very, very low. And we were outside of the lower level of the B band, which is one standard deviation away from the medium, which is the midline of this B band, which is, it's a bullish signal, which means that, you know, when we are outside of the lower level of the standard deviation of the B band, that is one of the highest success rate trades that you can possibly do in a bull market, especially on the SPY, QQQ, and IWM. So I'm not talking about gold, silver, Apple, Amazon, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about specifically with the IWM, QQQ, and the SPY. When you are trading at extremes like this, it is a very, very high quality, high percentage return trade. Okay, so that's why I said, you know, we might dip back down to 413.69, find support, but regardless, because we closed outside of this level here, that was a very bullish sign of a reversal to the upside. Okay, but now we've worked out of this oversold position. Okay, the MACD line, we crossed above all of these levels of resistance and made a new all-time high. Okay, so now what needs to happen is we need to see how we respond with the fact that the MACD is now overbought just a little bit. So we made new all-time highs. We're retesting the upper level of the B band, which isn't a huge concern. But again, you know, back here, right here, early May, we did trade outside of the upper level of the B band. And aside from this occurrence right here, 9 out of 10 times when we were trading outside of the upper or the lower level of the B band, if you had bought puts here, I mean, like, aside from this, so for example, we were trading outside of the lower level here, all right? If you had bought calls for a reversal trade, that was a very high probability trade. If you had bought puts over here, that was a very high probability trade as well. But it did not work because we were in a crazy uptrend and things just started to look very, very positive for the overall market, which is why we made new all-time highs regardless of all of the choppy price action for the past few months. All right, so the levels that you need to watch on the SPY for support are going to be clearly, you know, the prior all-time high at 425.46. Then it's going to be this trend line here, which is from October 2019. It's a uptrend line that acted as resistance multiple times throughout this bull market. Okay, which is right here at 424.38 approximately. Okay, that's going to be the next level of support on the SPY. And then obviously this important level here at 422.82. Those are the three key levels of support. If we cross down below any of those levels, it would be a quick scalp to the downside. You could buy puts, you know, and depending on how we consolidate here. So, all right, so now what I think might happen, obviously we can just continue on higher. There's no reason for us to continue stopping. We are not in an extreme yet, so there's no reason to start shorting the market until we get to a clear extreme. The RSI is not even overbought yet, so there isn't a huge level of concern on the SPY to just automatically start shorting it. So yeah, those are the levels of support. If we start crossing down below those levels of support, that would give you a better indication of, you know, shorting. But like just randomly just trying to call a top and shorting here is not smart. Okay, so those are the levels of support on the SPY. I'm going to tie in everything and how the other indices and the other markets are influencing the SPY's movement. You know, how the dollar, crude oil, how, you know, the other indices are all moving each other. Okay, so there's the quick analysis on the SPY. All right, now let's talk about the Nasdaq. So the Nasdaq was the biggest loser on Friday. We actually were down on the Nasdaq, but as you can see, the MACD barely moving. We're still remaining in this uptrend very clearly, right? Let me go ahead and draw this for you. Okay, so we're still clearly in an uptrend. We can see that there's multiple touches from May 21st. We have a touch in June, right? And just all throughout here, it's just been support. This looks very similar to Apple's chart as well, right? But yeah, so the closest term support, which is going to be on the Nasdaq, is going to be approximately 348.35. All right, if that breaks, that is a good chance for puts to the downside for a quick scalp. But yeah, 348.35 is going to be support on the Nasdaq, and then of course, you know, these various different horizontal levels of support. There's going to be one definitely at 344.50, which is another very strong level of support. And then obviously here at the prior all-time highs at 346.50, you know, then, you know, it just becomes choppy. If we start breaking this downtrend, then we're going to continue. I could just draw a line literally on each one of these, and the Nasdaq is just going to try to test and see if we can hold any of those. But the three really, really important ones are down here: 338.22, 339.33, and 340.76. So currently, we do have a red day. This trend line is very important to see if we do cross down below. If we do cross down below, then we need to see what happens with the SPY, because that could also potentially bring the SPY down as well. But yeah, essentially, the Nasdaq is not doing great only because it's been so bullish these past few weeks. So when the Nasdaq has been a winner for a while, right, what tends to happen is the IWM starts to become more bullish. And usually this happens around the end of the month or early into the month. So a winning indice for the month will start doing badly, and then the losing indice, which is the IWM, will start to do much better. So let's see if that might happen on the Nasdaq, okay? Because the IWM clearly looks extremely bullish heading into the end of the month. We have a bull flag here. So you can see a bull flag here, very bullish pattern. We crossed out above it. We crossed even higher, and then we retested this high here at 233.64. We only made it to 233.41. All right, so but this is the momentum currently to the upside. We just crossed upward on the MACD, which is a bullish signal on the IWM. And you know, if this pattern persists and we do cross above this trend line here, 234.57, then we can see at least 240, which is the measured move for this bull flag. So yeah, again, the IWM was the losing indice. The Nasdaq was the winning indice. Into the end of the month, the Nasdaq started to show weakness, and the IWM started to show strength. Okay, so now let's see if the Nasdaq can continue showing weakness, or if everything is just going to continue going up higher regardless. So if that is the case, you need to take into consideration the Nasdaq's RSI. So the RSI on the Nasdaq almost never gets overbought, and when it does, it is a very high quality bear signal. That when the Nasdaq RSI does cross above 70, it becomes very overbought, and it is usually a very good short signal. All right, but we have not gotten there yet, but we're very close to it. So if all of these things hold up, if we randomly do become overbought very quickly on the Nasdaq, and then the price action also shows that we can become very bearish quickly, and we start, you know, crossing down below support levels after being overbought, then that's a very bearish reversal top signal on the Nasdaq for the short term. All right. But yeah, then what might end up happening is the SPY is going to start falling down as well. The IWM is going to start falling down as well. But then the IWM will most likely be the first indice to start showing support. Because if the Nasdaq was the first to start showing weakness, then the other indice, essentially that was the loser before, is going to start showing the strength, and all of the money is going to funnel out of the Nasdaq and into the IWM. Okay, so that's usually what happens. But yeah, we just need to watch that and monitor it. We're currently not overextended on the Nasdaq just yet either, because the MACD looks very, very strong. It can continue on even higher. One clear show of strength is, all right, so just clearly looking at the MACD back here in May 26th, the Qs were trading back at 334. The MACD was much higher, okay? And then again, on June 14th, the Qs were trading down at 344 again. I mean, yeah, whatever. Trading much lower, but the MACD was much higher than it is currently. So right now, I want to show you the strength, right? Right now, the Nasdaq is trading much higher than it was in any of these past times, but the price of the Nasdaq is much higher, and the MACD is much, much lower, okay? So the theory here is if the MACD were to get even higher to these prior levels over here and over here, and then obviously that one over here, right? The price of the Qs in conjunction to the MACD should be all the way up here. Do you get it? Because if the MACD was much higher in the past, but the price is now much, higher on the Nasdaq, then that means that there is much more potential room to go to the upside on the Nasdaq, which is why I keep saying that the Nasdaq MACD is extremely strong, okay? Which is why it continues in an uptrend, because of this divergence. Because the Nasdaq is showing clear, ridiculous tightening strength here, and the MACD is much lower than it was in the past. Okay, so it's much lower than it was in the past, but the price of the Nasdaq is much higher. So that's where the divergence is, and that's why it's showing all this strength here. Okay, so yeah, just keep those things in mind. We could see weakness into the end of the month or early into the month on the Nasdaq, but yeah, as long as we maintain this trend line, and if we don't get overextended on anything, there's no reason to short the market. We just trade by the levels blindly, and we don't really care about our opinions, really. Okay. There's that on the IWM. There's that on the Qs. There's that on the SPY, really, right? So now let's talk about crude oil. So crude oil was one of the reasons why the SPY also didn't have a green or a red day, right? Because the Nasdaq had a red day. The IWM had a doji, right? The SPY had a green day. Crude oil is the reason why the SPY had a green day, because crude oil had a very, very, very bullish day. It's retesting the upper level of this falling wedge. It's just this pattern that's persisting on crude oil. We can see the MACD still has yet to cross above. And the fact that it still has yet to cross above, but it's retesting highs, is a very, very, very bullish sign on crude oil as well. I hope you guys really understand the logic and everything that I'm trying to explain to you guys with the MACD. But you can see that the RSI is very overbought. So we just need to see how crude oil responds at these levels of support. Overall, crude oil looks bullish, which is why the overall market is not going to be in a recession anytime soon. So you can just continue looking at that. It looks nice. But yeah, overall, the Nasdaq, the SPY, and the Qs all look very, very bullish. And yeah, the dollar. Yeah, so the dollar is the next thing that we have to monitor, because now the MACD is oversold, but the dollar is trading above support, which is very, very bullish for the dollar. Okay, so the support on the dollar needs to hold at 91.6, and we're consolidating above this level. We made a bull flag, right? So now it's just a matter of seeing if we cross above even higher. The MACD is oversold. It means that there's going to be more room to the upside, which is a bullish sign. So we just have to see how the dollar responds and if it can continue on higher. Okay. there's that. If the dollar continues on higher, then it could mean a potential bearish move on the SPY, QQQ, and IWM. Okay, it wasn't a huge bearish move here, but it could be, more bearish if we continue on higher on the dollar. So usually when the dollar goes up, the stock market goes down. So let's see if that continues on and holds true. But now let's talk about Bitcoin, because that's what, it's also very important currently. So again, the MACD on Bitcoin, it's now starting to flatten out, which is a very good sign potentially for Bitcoin. We're flattening out on the MACD. It looks oversold still, but we're holding above levels of support. All right. So at this rate that we were going on upward, that's why I said, look, within the next 2 days, Bitcoin needs to cross above 35,000. It needs to cross above this trend line here. If it didn't cross above this trend line here, then it meant that this oversold condition, we were oversold, right? Which means that is a very bullish sign on Bitcoin. All right. Similarly to the SPY, when we were very oversold on the MACD, it was a very bullish situation on the SPY, meaning that there would be a potential reversal. So what happened on the SPY was we were at a very oversold, bullish setup at support. MACD oversold on the B bands. At support, everything looked good for a bullish reversal. And that's exactly what happened. We ended up making new all-time highs, crossing above multiple levels of support before we even crossed above the MACD. All right, before we crossed above. So I'm using that same logic and I'm applying it to Bitcoin. So you see how the SPY made a very, very bullish reversal and crossed above all of these layers of support before it crossed above. That has yet to happen on Bitcoin, which is the only issue currently now with this movement here. We're just consolidating above support, which is a good sign. We haven't become overbought on the MACD, and we started to flatten out. So if we can slowly, look, I mean, it doesn't have to happen overnight. All of these moves, you don't necessarily need to, cross back up to 60,000 tomorrow. As long as we can slowly stay above support and create a solid foundation for which not to break, that's a good sign. But as soon as we cross down below these levels of support here, today it's going to be around 32,000. And then, the prior one at 30,000. If we start breaking down below those, especially when the MACD on Bitcoin is oversold, we should be crossing up higher, but we haven't yet, and things just flattened out. So at this point, as long as we hold above these levels of support, that is a bullish sign. But of course, if we start breaking down below, then the fact that we made such a strong move in the MACD, yet we didn't cross above these levels of resistance, that's a very bearish sign. So honestly, right now it can go either way, but overall, the fact that so there's two ways to look at it. The perfect opportunity for us to cross above and break above 35, 36,000, 37,000 was the fact that we were very, very oversold on the MACD. But because we didn't cross above and these trend lines were acting as clear levels of resistance this entire time, and now this trend line is in confluence with the 20 exponential moving average, it means that this level of resistance was very, very strong. So, but I mean, the other way to look at it is that, we're holding above these levels of support, which is very, very good. So either way, right now, Bitcoin can go either way. We need to just continue monitoring these levels of support and resistance. Bitcoin needs to cross above 37,000 essentially to, begin to be bullish once more. 36,000, sorry, to begin to become bullish once more. But otherwise, the MACD, just looking at it blindly, the MACD is oversold right now. So there is room to the upside, and we are trading above support. So it is a potential good bullish setup. But I mean, overall, once more, this is a bear flag, which is a very, very bearish pattern. So, the only way to invalidate this bear flag is if we start trading above 46,000. Until then, this is still going to remain a giant bear flag. But yeah, overall, Bitcoin, I mean, I couldn't really do much of analysis. I couldn't really help you guys with a definitive movement, but right now I'm not holding any. Trading is completely different, but I'm going to buy back into Bitcoin and everything as we cross above these levels of resistance, or if we fall down into these levels of support once more, right? But yeah, overall, as long as we can remain above these levels of support and cross above these levels of resistance day to day, it'll be a bullish sign. So the next level of resistance that Bitcoin needs to cross above is like 35,000. If you can cross above 35, then this level of resistance here, this trend line here, is going to be at 35.5 for today. And then tomorrow, obviously, every day moving forward, it goes up $100. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, that's basically it for Bitcoin. Obviously, Ethereum, XLM, Litecoin, all of these other altcoins and everything, they all follow Bitcoin right now. So if Bitcoin's not doing well and it doesn't hold above these levels, oh yeah, look, so it's having trouble at this level once more. And that level for today is 33,161. So we are trading above it, but there's multiple levels of resistance and support that Bitcoin needs to cross above and hold above. Right now, it's just a giant choppy range. And yeah, I would have loved for the MACD on Bitcoin to act the same as it did on the SPY, but it didn't. So that's why we're, this is the waiting game. It's just chopping. So yeah, we just need to see how Bitcoin responds at these levels. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Go ahead and put the bell notifications on. I hope you guys got value from this. If there's anything I could do better in the videos, please let me know. And of course, have an amazing day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.